Niche research. This is a topic that every beginner to publishing loves to watch, including myself when I was getting started. This method that I will show in this video, it's the method that I've used to find, for example, a book that has made over $200,000 just on Amazon KDP alone. Then there are other platforms, and then I have another book that has made $150,000. I had one book that made around $20,000 in November and December back in 2018. So this method, it works. Choosing the right niche, it's one of the most important things when it comes to publishing. We can see it as the foundation for the success of our book. So we want to make sure that there's market demand for the books that we publish, and we ideally want to publish in niches that don't have too much competition. The method that I will cover in this video will be very basic because I want to make it accessible for beginners. This video will be included in the community on Skool, which currently is free, so make sure to join that because it might not always be free, and you will also have access to the Excel file that I will show in the video. So the more advanced techniques, we'll save that for another video. Now, niche research, it's not the only thing that matters. For example, if you take the top books that I published, the top one, that was unique. So I was the first book with that particular keyword phrase. So that really shows, and I've heard this from other publishers as well, that if you can be a little bit creative and sometimes dare to take risks when it comes to creating trends instead of following trends, then you can get big rewards that are not what you will get from simply following what everyone else is doing. And for the book that made around $20,000 in November and December, I was one of the first books on this topic. So if you can catch a trend very early on, then that is also something that I found to be very powerful. So keep this in mind as you watch this video. Doing what everyone else is doing will give you results that everyone else is getting. So dare to be a little bit creative with your niche research and the way you're approaching the publishing of your books. I have mentioned this concept in other videos, but I believe that if you can be in this sweet spot that we have over here, where it's an area that you're passionate in, that you're skilled at, and that is profitable, then you have found the sweet spot, which is a place where you can make publishing sustainable in the long run. Because if you're passionate about it, you will stick with the topic, you will make sure the books are great, and if you're skilled at it, you will also be able to make the book great, even if you're not writing the books yourself, because you will be able to control for quality. For example, I did some workout books and I hired a writer who was supposed to be knowledgeable about workouts. However, since I'm a licensed personal trainer, I was able to see that this person was describing exercises that was meant to train the shoulders. However, the person that was writing the book described the exercise as if it was training the abdominals. So obviously I stopped working with this writer right away. So this is an example that if you're skilled at the topic, because we don't want to be publishing books that don't produce any value, we don't want to provide misinformation, etc. So that is how you can make sure that the books you're publishing have the right quality and that they are able to provide value to the marketplace, because that is ultimately what we will get rewarded for. And profitability, that simply means that people want to buy these books. So what I often say is that imagine that you go into a bookstore, you will see certain topics, let's say for example yoga is selling very well, then you know that there's a reason that the store has placed that book there in the top shelf, for example, or in a place where it's very visible, because there's a large number of people that are interested in that topic, and thus they know that it will sell. So we rather sell water in the desert than sell ice to Eskimos. Okay, so let's get into the step-by-steps. We're on the Amazon website. We first want to go to books. Then we simply search here, we go to bestsellers, then we can click print bestsellers. Now, I've not made any preparations for this video. I have no intention of giving you great niches to publish in. I think that we need to respect the work of other publishers. So my goal is not to reveal other people's books, but rather to give you the tools and teach you how to fish, so that instead of giving you the fish and feed you one time, I'm able to give you the techniques to fish yourself so that you can feed yourself for the rest of your life. Sounds fair? Let's go. So let's look at health, fitness, and dieting, since that is a very simple concept to understand. And since I'm a personal trainer, I believe I can provide value in this niche, and it's something that I'm passionate about, and it is something that is profitable. So usually the top three, it's relationships, making money, and health. Those are the three things that occupy a lot of people's mind. And that is something that people are willing to pay money for. I believe that there's a lot of books making a lot of money in this niche. For example, you can see the top 8 in the Audible bookstore. I don't know, maybe this one has been the top one at one point. It's making thousands of dollars every day, most likely. And we can, if you're curious about this plugin that I have over here, it is called DS Amazon Quick View. So it allows you to see the rankings of the book very quickly. And this is an Audible store, so this is for audiobooks. And I also have a tool called KDP Spy, which I will show later, that can give you an estimation of what the books are making. However, there's also a tool called the Kindle Sales Calculator. I will show you. It's called the Amazon Book Sales Calculator for KDP. So it's on Kindlepreneur. And here you can type in the book type, so paperback or ebook, and then you can enter the rank here. You can see the amount of books being sold. So usually for print, the royalty is about $5 per book. So you can calculate if it's selling 1 copy per day and it's making $5 a day, then that is roughly $150 a month. And then we have the ebook, that is $2 usually. And then you can calculate based on how many sales it gets. So this is how you can see how much the books are selling and how much they're making. So here in the categories, you have many different subcategories. And what we want to do is we want to look for keywords, so search phrases that people would use. So for example, Atomic Habits. This is not a search phrase because this is a book title that is very unique. So we don't want to be taking concepts or keywords that are made by big authors such as this. However, habits, there's no problem publishing habits, so that is a keyword. So what we can do is we can start to write down all the keywords in this Excel file. Again, if you're in the Skool Community, you will have this one. So just write habits, and then we go down. Again, these are book titles. I don't think people will search for Keeps the Score, The Body Keeps the Score, or maybe people will search for menopause. Here we see menopause again. Probably it's the same as the same book, it's just the audiobook. The Glucose Goddess Method, maybe that's one. So we see here on the bestseller, without going into categories, these are mainly famous book titles by famous authors. But the Shadow Work Journal, that is obviously keywords, so we can write that one down. I think this is the book that got famous with TikTok, if I'm not mistaken. You see, what does it say? This is a 2 million copies sold. Here we have juicing for beginners. We have breath. That's not a keyword, it's rather a title. So you want to think about what do people search for. So let's go into diets and weight loss. So this step number 1, it's simply to identify the different keywords that we might find. And then in step number 2, we will be analyzing and see if the keywords that were found are profitable or not, or if there's too much competition, etc., etc. So we might not find any profitable keyword during this video. However, you will get the idea if you watch this entire video. So here we can see the Galveston diet. I believe it's trademarked. However, that's the next step that we do. So we can choose to write this one down and then check later for trademark. We definitely don't want to publish in any trademarked topic. So here seems to be the audiobook. Young Forever, Plant You. So this might be one thing, plant-based recipes. So you want to check the subtitles, Eat and Beat Your Diet, Obesity Code, Cleanse to Heal, Fast and Repeat, Toxic Superfoods, Diabetes Cookbook. So Mediterranean Diet Cookbook. Here we have whole food, keto. So we can write keto diet. Intuitive eating. Again, we want to check later so it's not trademarked. Here we can see plant-based showing up again. So maybe plant-based weight loss is something. Vegetarian cooking for everyone. This PCOS diet cookbook. This one seems to be selling very well, or quite well, by just 2 reviews, and we can see here that it's independently published. Now this one, I'm not sure if it's trademarked or not, so we will write this one down. Just remember what I'm saying in regards to the trademark, that you want to check that before you publish in a book. Plant-based diet cookbook. Simple vegan. So vegan cookbook can be something. Vegan slow cooker. So okay, so I think that's enough for this step. You get the point when it comes to gaining keywords. So for example, vegan ketogenic diet, we can take that one as well, just to have to check later. During this phase, we simply want to write down the keywords and search phrases that we see. So as a complete beginner, it might be difficult to separate what is a search term and what is, for example, a famous book. However, if you think of yourself as a reader, then what would you type in? You probably wouldn't type in "live your healthiest life." You would probably rather look for a topic. And maybe you're into health, so maybe you simply Google health. But this you most likely wouldn't write unless you're looking for this particular book. However, plant-based weight loss, that is something that you might type in, or vegan ketogenic diet. So these are specific topics that can be considered search terms / keywords. So you can see this health, fitness, and dieting as a niche. And then within this niche, there are many different keywords. So think of health, fitness, and dieting as the overarching category. And then within this category, you have many different keywords to publish in. So if we're thinking about the sweet spot that we mentioned earlier, then we can see that there are many different ways to still find profitability. If health is something that we're into, then we are able to build a series of books and eventually a brand, etc., etc. But let's stay focused. This video is solely about keyword research and analyzing. So I think it's time that we move on to step number 2, which is about analyzing the keywords that we've written down. So in this step, first step, ideally, write down 20 to 30 keywords that you can later analyze in step number 2. Okay, so step number 2 of analyzing the niches or keywords that we've found. Let's search for habits, which was the first keyword that we wrote down. So here we can see the number of results, and I think the 50,000 results, that's way too much. Ideally, we want at least below 5,000. I would say below 1,000 is ideal, but we're gonna have a hard time breaking into this keyword because habits is very general, and there will be a lot of books with the word habits in the title. So there will be a lot of books ranking for this particular topic. But we can see that there are different angles of habits. So for example, you have emotional intelligence habits. Maybe that's something. You can see that the book is selling very well also. So if we use the tool that I talked about in step number 1, KD Spy, then we can see that emotional, according to KD Spy, it's making around $1,500. No, it's making around $34,000 according to KD Spy. I think sometimes KD Spy goes a little bit on the high end, but we can see here there are many different angles. So we have Highly Effective People, which is a famous book. High Performance Habits, a good book as well. And we see Emotional Intelligence Habits. That might be something that we want to check out. We can see that we have Habits of the Household. So maybe Household Habits, or here we have the Science of Habits. Tiny Habits, it's another way of saying Atomic Habits. So what we can do is we can look at what shows up here. So we see Habits for Success. We can see long-tail keywords as well. So there are tools that you can use to get even more keywords showing up. I think it's called something like Amazon Expander tool or something like that. Don't quote me on that one, that's probably incorrect. But in essence, you can find more specific search terms that will have less results. So if we search Habits for Success, then we only see 20,000 results. And let's see if we can find something else that is even more. Habits, Emotional Intelligence Habits. Let's take a look at that one. So I wouldn't want to publish in this one if there's only one book, because that might make us look like a copycat in terms of just publishing under this topic because there's a famous book and trying to get their sales. So for example, this one has created a workbook for this particular famous book. I don't think that's the wisest thing to do unless you have permission to do so. But emotional intelligence in itself is a keyword. So here you can see longer tail keyword, emotional intelligence for leadership, 4,000 results. So as you're doing the analyzing, you might also find more keywords. So you can go down a rabbit hole, and you ideally want this number to be below 100,000 for books. So at least one book below this, ideally 3-4 books that are below this. And then what we will do is we will start to write down the average BCR. So how do we calculate the average BCR? If we do it manually, then we simply write down all these numbers. You can also find this number by going here and then scrolling down. It's under here at product details. So, but ideally several books under 100,000, and then you ideally want the books to not have too many reviews. So that is another thing that you will write down, the number of competing books. And for this, I recommend that you write down the books that have exactly that keyword in the title. So if it's emotional intelligence for leadership, it will be this one. I would probably write down this one as well, even though it's a slight variation. But if you take, so it will probably be simply 1 to 5 books with this specific keyword phrase. So that's what you want to do. Write down the average number of reviews. So again, you check, okay, this one has 13. Don't write this one. It's only for the ones with this specific keyword phrase. And then you divide it by the number of books, and then you get the average number of reviews. So I'm showing you how to do everything manually in this video so that we are learning it from the base. Let's look at some other keywords. So we take the menopause reset, menopause brain. So I don't see anything here that is particularly attractive to me. We see 10,000 results. So unless we're able to niche down further and be even more specific, I wouldn't publish under this keyword. Menopause cookbook, that might be interesting. It's more specific. Menopause diet plan, etc. Shadow work journal, so this might be more in terms of medium content book. So the process is the same for low content, medium content. For fiction, I haven't done much research, but I believe the process is quite similar there. However, you check more the Kindle ebooks, because that is where you will most likely make most of your book sales, at least when it comes to certain fiction topics. So here we see 10,000 results again. We see that the books are selling well if we look at the ranking. So again, you can use the calculator here if you don't want to use KD Spy, and you can see how many copies per day the book is selling, and by doing that you can calculate. Usually the average is about $5 per paperback sale. So by doing that you can create an estimate of how much these books are making. So if we take a look at the number of reviews, there's quite a lot of reviews, so I would say this niche is highly competitive and it's not something I would be super interested in. If you can find a unique angle, then I think there might still be room to add value to this particular niche. Let's move on. Plant-based recipes. So we're not finding any books with the plant-based recipes in the title. We see plant-based cookbook. Again, we see 40,000 results. So maybe plant-based cookbook for, see if something shows up. Okay, for some reason nothing shows up now, so we will simply move on to the next one. And Mediterranean diet cookbook, I know it's very competitive. For example, if we search here, we see 20,000 results. So right away, I would want to niche down. So you see beginners, you see seniors. So that is how you can niche down further. And then you would analyze, for example, this one has 5 reviews. However, it's not selling. So it would not be something that we would want to publish in. Same with keto diet. It's very competitive, so ideally we want to niche down further. And you can see the different keywords that show up here. Let's take this one. This one might be trademarked. Again, remember to follow the trademark search step. But if we take a look at this one, we can see that it sells well for the first book. We see that it sells well here. And for certain books that are very medically inclined, for example, if it's treating a medical condition, you might want to be careful as well. So that is not something I would recommend either. But just as an example, this is how we would want it to look when we search for a keyword. So we see few reviews and we see that the book is selling well, and we see that the cover is, it's okay, it's a good cover, but there's probably better covers out there, but this is a good solid book. So it adds the 2024 in the title, so it makes it relevant. So kudos to this publisher for doing a great job in terms of the cover and the title and finding a niche that is profitable. However, once again, I'm not sure if it's risky in terms of giving medical advice or if it's trademarked. So that is something that you definitely want to keep in mind. But here we see another one, independently published, also selling extremely well. So this one is selling even better because it has a lot more reviews. The price is different as well, so that is something that you can take into account. Here we have someone who goes with a little bit of a different angle. So this is an example of how to have a different angle to your book. So instead of making the same one like everyone else is doing, for example, the complete guide or the ultimate guide or whatever, then you make a budget-friendly or you make a cookbook with a certain amount of ingredients, so they're easy to make, or that only takes X number of minutes to create, or you can see how you can be unique in many different ways by simply going the extra mile and thinking about what is it that people want. People want to save money, they want to save time, they want to save effort, they want to gain status, etc., etc. So think about what people want and see if you can make your title fit that. So that might be something that you want to put in the comment section. So for example, I can make a unique angle about the book being budget friendly, for example. So here you have a place to write comments, because we ideally want to add unique value to the marketplace, and we want to make the books either better or unique. So I will not go through the entire list. I think this is enough to learn the process, and I think that if you can make a book that makes $100 or $200 a month, I think that's good. So you can simply enter the numbers here if you don't have the KD Spy calculator, and by doing that you can see, okay, if it is around $5 for print paperback sales, then we know that if the book is selling around 30 copies, so you simply take 30 times 5, then you know, okay, it's making around $150. If it is, let's say we write down here, it's a paperback, it has the ranking of 30,000, it sells 8 books per day, 8 books times 5, it makes around $40 per day and around 1,200 per month. So this is how you do it. And as I said in the intro of this video, the niche that you select, it's very important because it's the foundation. We want to make sure that we get this right, because we don't want to go through all the effort of creating a book and then have it not sell. So ideally choose a niche with high demand and not too much competition. But also remember that choosing the right niche, it's simply one part of the process. It's one component. It's a very important component. However, you still want to make sure that you're doing everything else in the process correctly and to the best of your ability, so you can provide unique value to the marketplace or better value to the marketplace. Thanks for watching. I will see you in the next video.